5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting. When traveling at 55 miles per hour, that's enough time to cover the length of a football field.
Driving is a full-time job. Anything that distracts you from taking your eyes off the road or paying attention to what you're doing is bad to do while you're driving.
Using a cell phone while driving, whether it's hands-held or hands-free, delays a driver's reaction as much as having a blood alcohol concentration at the legal limit of 0.08%.
I got rear-ended. I was pulling my car in drive, and as soon as I put it in drive, my car was hit. She wasn't really talking to the cop. She was focused more on her phone.
36% of teens say that they have been involved in a near crash because of their own or someone else's distracted driving.
Many times we see cars that are swerving or acting erratic driving, and we think maybe the person's intoxicated or something like that, and we get to the car and they are texting instead of paying attention to their driving. They're trying to text with their hands and hold on to the steering wheel at the same time.
I saw some stat that said that texting and driving is actually more dangerous than drinking and driving. And you know, you see the stories on the news about kids texting and driving, and you know, it's sad. There's no text that can't wait.
Several years ago, I happened to be involved in an automobile accident. When I called to report this to my insurance agent, the first thing they asked me was anyone using a cell phone? Was anyone texting? When I replied no, it dawned on me that they had said to me, was anyone texting, not was anyone injured.
We formulated an experiment to analyze how texting and driving can affect one's reaction time. We had 6 participants, 3 males and 3 females. Each participant sent a simple text such as LOL, where are you, picking up dinner, love you, BRB, as they went around the track. In order to make this experiment accurate, we got the average size lane and the average size car and set them into proportion of our lane and a golf cart. We ended up with 26 cones, 8 feet wide and 25 feet long.
Texting and driving really prohibited my focus off of the road, so it was definitely a lot harder to drive.
The first time I drove, I floored it, so I got through the cones in like 5 seconds. I had to send the next one, which was, where are you? And that one definitely messed up my driving. I tried to go all the way through, but then when I was finished, I looked back at the message and it was like, where are to? So it didn't even send right. The next one was picking up dinner, love you, BRB. That one was really tough. I basically floored it again until I got to the very end, and then I stopped. The longer the message is, the more likely you're to have an accident. Even though the LOL message messed me up, I definitely wouldn't recommend trying it because it could be the last text you ever sent.
Basically, when I typed LOL, I didn't realize how much I was leaning to the left-hand side, and then I looked up and I was like, wow. And when I did where are you, that's when I realized I'm a really slow texter, and I could not figure out how to hit the send button and keep the steering wheel straight at the same time. I was trying to focus on not pulling to the left-hand side again, and I didn't even type the right text message. I just typed a bunch of mumble jumble. Yeah, if I was paying more attention to the text message and what I was typing exactly instead of just running all my words together, I probably would have wrecked or driven off the course or something, because there was no way I could have done both at the same time.
It definitely did affect my vision on the road, or the cones there. The longer that time is that your eyes are off the road, it only takes one time to where the text gets your mind off the road too long.
Afterwards, you get a more impactful feeling of like, they're just cones, but in real life that could be pedestrians, other vehicles, you know, all types of things that you would hit because one text is more important than keeping your eyes on the road. I wasn't really like looking up until the last text message that I had to send, which said, picking up dinner, love you, BRB. That's the one that I had trouble, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm gonna hit a cone.
While I was texting and driving the golf cart, I was just focusing on one too many things, so it was definitely a lot harder for me to drive. I was just thinking, well, what if I crash into one of these cones and something bad happens?
I was trying to focus on the road, but then I was still trying to send a message. I noticed it was really hard to focus on two things at once when you mainly need to focus on the road, and there could be more than one car or another distraction.
At the beginning of the experiment, we had each participant do a test run where they would drive without texting and driving. And what we did was we had them go around the cones twice, and then we took the averages from each individual person and grouped them together under a category of boys and girls. The boys had an average of 8.5 seconds with the test run, and the girls had an average of 10.7 seconds. So as you can see, the girls' averages were slower than the boys. After we got done with the test runs, we actually started the texting and driving itself, and we had them send a simple text such as LOL. The boys had an average of about 8.2 seconds, and the girls had an average of about 9 seconds. And again, the boys were faster. Even though they were all distracted equally, the boys still were faster and the girls had a slower speed. The second text they had to send was, "Where are you?" And since this is a longer text, it had a bigger impact on each participant. What had occurred was that more than half of them had driven slower, and it added on to their time. The overall time for the boys was about 9 seconds, and the overall time for the girls was about 10 seconds. The last text they had to send was, "Picking up dinner, love you, BRB." And when you compare the longest text to their original test drive without even texting and driving, you can see how much of an impact it actually has on the students. The boys had an average time of 16.2 seconds, and the girls had an average time of 13.9 seconds. And the girls were actually faster at the last round than the boys were.
When you start looking down, trying to text and find your little keypad and get the right letters in your text, you're taking your attention away from your driving, and it makes it so that your driving is not as good as it should be. There's nothing that important that it can't wait till you get to your destination, or if you really have to text somebody, you could pull into a parking lot somewhere and park and do it that way.
Our officers usually are pretty good when the kids are leaving and they see stuff that they shouldn't be doing, at least while they're on property, you know, hey, stopping them, hey, put your phone away, get your seatbelt on.
A quarter of teens respond to a text message once or more every time they drive. 20% of teens and 10% of parents admit that they have extended multi-message text conversations while driving.
It could be
Your
last
last text. It could be your last text.